out on MedCap missions east, which we were in.
Hi. Welcome back. We were having this great, interesting conversation during break. Sorry you couldn't hear it. Fascinating, and I wish you could hear more from Lane during the course of the show. You will. There's a lot more to share there than you've heard already. So we're going to go to Nanci next. So everybody has a turn, but I'm going back in the fourth segment so you can hear from everyone again, because you're missing little gems during the break time. We're going to read a section. Would you like to start off with that and then talk about your book?
I would love to. Before I read the section, I want to just say that the book is about a kid who wants to be a classical musician, and he decides that when he's 9 years old. And his father is dead set against it. His father is a blue-collar worker and an alcoholic, and he finally uses cruelty to keep the boy from pursuing his dream. So that's all you need to know before I read this chapter.
Is it a short chapter?
It's a short chapter,
good,
yeah. It's a short chapter. And the boy moves around a lot, so he doesn't really have any friends except his horse and his dog. Here, Trixie. Come, girl. I looked around the yard but saw only Dad working in his garden. Here, Trixie. I yelled louder. Then she appeared, running furiously around the side of the barn, chasing after a chicken. Stop, I yelled. Dad heard me, looked up, and saw her too. I followed my dog behind the barn, scolding, No, girl, no. She had the hen by the neck, shaking it fiercely. I ripped the dead bird from her jaws, yelling, No, just look what you've done. I wagged my finger at her. Bad dog. Trixie hung her head and put her tail between her legs. I looked all around for Dad. We've got to get rid of this in a hurry. Trixie always knew what I meant, but couldn't resist sniffing and barking at the chicken. I held the hen by its feet, her bloody head hanging all the way to the ground, and hurried off across the pasture, Trixie at my heels. We were running fast when I saw Dad's shadow and heard his footsteps. His huge hand grabbed my shoulder and stopped me cold. Thought you'd be getting away with something, did you? Dad was breathing hard as he grabbed my hand with the chicken in it and held it so tight it hurt. He shook the dead chicken in front of my face. You think you can put one over on me? I squirmed and tried to pry my hand away from his. She didn't mean to do it, I cried. One dead chicken is one too many, and there'll be more. He still had hold of me. No, there won't. I'll watch her. Like you've been doing already? He let go of my hand and pushed me so hard I fell. You listen to me. This mutt is yours, and I'm holding you responsible for this. You come with me now. Where? Come with you where? He walked away from me, carrying the dead hen without looking back. Shut up your mouth and bring that mutt with you. I was afraid of what he might do to me, but I scrambled to my feet and followed, hanging onto Trixie's collar to keep her away from the chicken. When we got to the barn, Dad said, Wait here. Don't move an inch till I come back. He handed the dead bird to Mom at the back door. A few minutes later, he came out again with a rifle in his hands. I screamed, No, you can't. Just stop it right now, he growled. I've told you more than 1,000 times that chicken-killing dogs got no place on a farm. Those birds feed us. Please, don't shoot her, please. I knelt down and put my arms around Trixie's neck, my face next to hers. Dad stood silent, just watching me for a little while before he said, I ain't gonna shoot your dog. You're not? I wiped my eyes on my sleeve and looked up at him. She's your dog, ain't she? I'm giving that little chore to you. I screamed again and tried to run, but he grabbed my shirt. I struggled to get away, but it was no use. You'll be doing this, he said, so you might just as well get it in your head. When I calmed down a little, he pushed the gun, which he had taught me how to use, toward me and wrapped my hands around it. Then he turned and walked away. I won't do it, I yelled. Never! Dad snapped around and roared at me, pointing to beyond the pasture. You get right now, and I don't want to see your face till this job is done. You damn well know I ain't kidding. I started walking in the direction he pointed to, holding the rifle in one hand and Trixie's collar in the other. I didn't have to hold her long, as she followed like always, nudging my hand and wagging her tail. Dad yelled at me, and don't you be getting no damned fool ideas in your head about letting her go. I'll be listening and checking on you. My throat was tight. I couldn't swallow right. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I couldn't even think, so just walked for a long time while Trixie ran and barked, chased birds, and had a good time. When we were far away from the house, I stopped. Come here, girl. You didn't mean to do anything wrong. I buried my face in her neck, wiped my eyes in her warm fur. We were going to eat the stupid old chicken anyway. I thought my chest would explode at any minute. My head ached all the way through, and no matter what might happen to me, I wouldn't go through with this. I dropped the rifle in the dirt, picked up a large rock, pushed Trixie away from me, and threw the rock hard in the dirt in front of her. Get out of here. Now, go. She cocked her head in that way she did and stood facing me, not moving except for her tail wagging slightly. I lunged at her, yelling louder, Go on, get out! I pushed her and screamed at her, but she refused to leave. Instead, she plopped down on the ground right in front of me, put her head on her paws, and flopped her tail up and down. I stood over her and tried to tell her what was going to happen if she didn't run away. She understood that I had to do it because she put her head on my feet, looked up at me, and waited. In the distance, Dad yelled, I'm coming right now! I stretched out on the ground beside my best friend. She licked my hands that were holding the rifle. She knew we couldn't put this thing off any longer and was telling me, it's okay. Hardly able to see through my tears, I stood, raised the rifle, pointed it at her head, and closed my eyes. I don't remember pulling the trigger, but must have done it.
Something like a boy and his dog.
I
Oh my gosh.
know.
That had to have been hard to write.
It was hard to even read.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was hard to write, and it was, when I wrote this book, it was the first chapter that I wrote. And I remember sending it I went to the writers' conference that year, the Mock Hill, the Gold Rush Writers' Conference, and I sent that chapter in because at that time you had, not a competition, but just people to evaluate what
Yeah.
you've written. So
Did you send it to Kevin?
actually, Lucy Sana read it and met with me, and she was very encouraging. So, I was going to write the book in any case, but that was the first chapter that I wrote. And then I didn't write this book in a way that people normally write books, with an outline and you know what you're doing and where you're going. I just started writing chapters. And so it took me probably 3 years to get the first group of chapters done. And then I had a series of unattached, unconnected, it wasn't a story. Mm-hmm. Then I had to create fillers and characters. And,
I call them inserts.
yeah, and that over half the book is that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I made a story out of it because I thought it was such a fascinating story when I first heard it. So
Well, that's a strong chapter.
I think it is, yeah.
My goodness. And then for the length of time that you did research for it?
Yeah, I did a lot
Because you
of
said there's
research.
kernels of truth.
Oh, yeah, it's...
We all have that.
It's based on a true story, and so I would, conduct an interview, and then I would get the basics of the story, which happened a long time ago. The story takes place in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, so it was a long time ago. So I had to research that time period, and the music from that time period, the cars from that time period.
The cars.
Everything,
That's wonderful, though.
Yeah, but it was fun. I enjoyed doing that. And I love the music, and I when I was born, my oldest brother was 19, so I heard a lot of music that would have been, when I was really young, that was like before my time, really, and I loved it, music from the 40s, I still love it, the Andrews Sisters and Tommy Dorsey. And
Kind of
Jimmy
sticks with
Dorsey.
you.
Yeah.
You ever met Dennis Yancey?
No?
He's a phenomenal classic pianist, and he knew a lot of those musicians.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the show once. I know him because he plays piano at our church.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do too. I think music, I don't know about you, but I play music when I write.
I don't.
You don't?
usually,
Oh,
no.
I do.
No.
I go from needing quiet to I can't take quiet.
Yeah.
It's never,
Right.
it's not one thing. Every writer is different. I also
think
have
that's
dogs
true.
at my feet, so.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to say that to people who are writing, who are watching, that there isn't, you hear all this advice from writers, but I think everybody works
Different.
differently. And like, who would start writing a chapter that wound up in the middle of the book I mean, you just do whatever is in your heart.
And each book is different, too.
And each book is different, that's right.
And I wanted to share the information you gave me, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because you have book signings coming up.
Yes.
The first one out there in TV land, if you have a pen, is November 14th at 1 p.m. And it's at the Folsom Public Library, which is a very nice library. And it's local authors. Nancy will be
Right.
with other local authors
California Writers Club.
from the
authors.
California Writers Club. Anyone I know? Anyone?
Margie Yee. And
Margie.
probably Pam Dunn. I mean, we haven't chosen the panel yet, so I'm not quite sure.
Sure, okay. Book authors, novelists.
Well, no, different genres. So
Different
we're
genres.
looking for, like children's book authors and historic fiction. We'd like to have a bunch of different
okay.
genres. Yeah.
Panel and signing, and then in November, she will be in Placerville on 2 different dates, December 12th and 19th at 409 Main Street from 3 to 11 at that amazing bookstore that's there.
Whose name we can't remember.
I know, I have pictures of it, I did a photo shoot of it, I was so enthralled with it. So we're going to be going to break for a little bit, but please mention, write them down if you want. You can check the links later. But that's interesting. That's a very interesting, I love panel discussions. They're
I forgot to mention the IPPY. Do we have time?
We'll do the IPPY on the last one.
Okay,
We'll do
great.
awards on the last
All
one
right.
because we're almost out of time.
All
It's
right.
always when we're at a really good point in the show. We might have to tone down for our sponsor breaks, but we're just a few seconds away from bye. We'll see you when we come back, and please be sure to come back and join us. Thanks.
You're watching your local television network, TSPN.